Understand English but can't speak?
Speak simple.
Speak confident.
English Boost.
Boost your English.
Welcome to English Boost channel.
Wait.
Okay, I'm obviously kidding, but what if I told you that the most important ingredient in your morning coffee has, absolutely nothing to do with the beans?
Or the roast, or even the caffeine, really.
Exactly, because today we are taking a deep dive into what is basically the ultimate psychological crutch, just, disguised as a beverage.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We usually think of our daily routines as these engines of mechanical efficiency, right?
Right, like the alarm rings, your feet hit the floor, you brush your teeth.
Yeah, you're asleep, and then you're awake. Very binary. But the second you step into the kitchen and reach for that coffee canister,
Everything completely breaks
it
down.
really does. That efficiency just vanishes, and we enter this highly emotional, deeply psychological space that we rarely actually acknowledge out loud.
Because, we like to think we operate on pure willpower, admitting that our ability to function in modern society hinges on a warm cup of bean water. It kind of feels like a surrender.
Totally. Which is exactly why the source material for today's deep dive is so interesting.
Yes. So, our source today is actually a transcript from an English learning show on the English Boost channel.
Right, a lesson called Speak English with Class.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, they were literally just trying to teach everyday English vocabulary to non-native speakers. That was the whole goal.
But they sort of accidentally delivered this profound philosophical breakdown of coffee.
They really did. They captured how this one specific drink has completely transcended its physical ingredients.
Because it's not really a beverage anymore, is it? It's an emotional support system. It's a daily ritual.
A quiet protector of our sanity.
Right. And our mission today is to explore the mechanics behind why that actually happens.
So I want to throw a direct question out to you, the listener, right now. Think about your morning cup today. Are you drinking it because you actually crave the culinary taste of the roast? Or are you secretly using it as a psychological shield?
To protect yourself from the demands of the day, yeah.
Exactly. And to figure that out, we have to start with the most raw, unfiltered reality of coffee, which is the morning survival phase.
Oh, the survival phase. It's so real.
It is. Why is the pre-coffee human so incredibly fragile?
Well, that fragility is something everyone recognizes, and the source text captures it beautifully. They describe this phenomenon where people, they appear awake in the morning.
Like physically present.
Right. The body is standing there, the eyes are open, but nothing inside has actually started yet.
The phrase they use in the lesson, which I love, is that the soul is still buffering.
Yes. The buffering soul. It's perfect. Because neurologically speaking, you're experiencing sleep inertia.
Okay, sleep inertia.
Yeah. Your brain's executive functioning just hasn't fully booted up yet to connect with your motor skills.
I don't think I have ever heard a more painfully accurate description of me standing in my kitchen at 6:30 a.m.
Just staring at the coffee maker.
Literally. You're physically in the room, but mentally you're trapped in this weird liminal space in the hallway between the bed and the kitchen.
Exactly. And in that state, even a basic social interaction feels overwhelming.
Oh, yeah. Like someone saying good morning feels like an aggressive demand on your resources. You just stand there staring at the wall like it personally offended you.
And that's where the caffeine comes in as a social function. The source points out this quiet, human dependence, not like a dramatic addiction, but just the realization that your body registers when this pick-me-up is missing.
Right. There's that great anecdote in the material about someone who skipped their coffee because they were running late.
Oh, that was hilarious. By mid-morning, their sensory processing was just entirely fried.
Yeah. The light was too bright, the room was too warm, and my favorite part, they found a cheerful person nearby to be quote-unquote offensive.
Just deeply offensive for being happy.
Right. But, okay, I have to stop you there and play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
We're calling this a buffering soul and a quiet human dependence. But, let's be brutal. Caffeine is a highly addictive, psychoactive drug.
Well, yes, it is.
So aren't we just romantically slapping the word ritual onto a very basic chemical withdrawal? Like, we're cranky because our brains are starved of a stimulant we're addicted to.
I mean, you're not wrong. The chemical withdrawal is a biological reality. You absolutely cannot separate the caffeine from the physiological response.
Right, it's chemistry.
But, and this is a big, but if this were purely a physiological issue, a simple chemical deficit, we would solve it with maximum efficiency.
Like taking a pill.
Exactly. We'd wake up, swallow a 200 milligram caffeine pill the second our eyes open, and just go about our day. It would be cheaper, way faster, and far more effective at delivering the drug to your bloodstream.
Okay, yeah, but nobody actually does that.
Nobody does that. In fact, we'd probably look at someone who does that and think they're slightly unhinged,
Definitely unhinged.
because we universally reject that efficient chemical solution. And that means the process of making and consuming the coffee is carrying equal, if not more, weight than the drug itself.
So it's not just about waking up.
No. The function coffee is actually serving in that morning moment is as a social lubricant. It quietly protects other people from our unfiltered morning irritability while we, transition into our waking persona.
Oh, okay, that shifts our entire understanding of the morning routine. It takes it totally out of the realm of chemical need and drops it squarely into the psychology of soothing.
Yes, exactly.
And the source material spends a surprising amount of time detailing the sensory steps of this routine. It's never just about getting the liquid into your stomach.
Never. It's about the physical act. Filling the kettle.
Right, hearing the specific predictable hum of the machine.
Opening the jar. And that very first smell hitting your olfactory receptors before the water has even boiled.
It's so predictable. People return to the exact same mug, usually like a chipped or imperfect one, and they stand in the exact same corner of their kitchen.
They carve out this tiny geographical slice of silence. And this really highlights the crucial difference between a habit and a ritual.
Okay, break that down for me. What's the difference?
Well, brushing your teeth is a habit. It's a mindless, automated action you do while you're, thinking about your grocery list.
Right, you're not fully present.
Exactly. But a ritual requires your presence. It gives shape and feeling to a specific moment. The brewing process is essentially an act of nervous system care.
I love that phrase, nervous system care. But how does making a cup of coffee actually downregulate the nervous system? Like biologically, what is happening?
So, rituals require a predictable sequence of sensory inputs. When you do the same physical movements, smell the same aroma, feel the weight of that specific mug,
Yeah.
you are sending biological signals directly to your amygdala. That's the brain's threat detection center. Yeah. Plus, the heat physically dilates your blood vessels, which is inherently soothing. The predictability tells the brain, hey, the environment is entirely safe and controlled.
So it shifts you out of that groggy fight or flight buffering stage.
Exactly. It signals that you are allowed to safely transition into the demands of the day.
That makes so much sense. The transcript makes this really beautiful observation about how holding a warm cup with both hands feels childlike in a good way.
Yes, it gives you this tactile illusion of being protected.
Which is what makes the whole concept of trying to cut back on coffee so funny to me.
Oh, it's hilarious.
The lesson points out how mature and peaceful the phrase sounds, like, I'm going to cut back on coffee. You sound like this enlightened monk who's mastered their earthly desires.
Right. But then by day 2,
By day 2, you are practically weeping at the sight of an espresso machine. You aren't just giving up caffeine. You are actively interrupting your brain's primary source of daily comfort.
you're stripping away the anchor. The coffee bean is really just the socially acceptable physical object that allows us to engage in emotional regulation.
But do people realize that? Because people will passionately claim, oh, I just really love the taste of coffee. I'm an aficionado.
Right, they swear it's about the flavor.
But if you brew them their favorite super expensive roast and serve it in a paper cup and force them to drink it while running to catch a bus.
They'd be absolutely miserable.
Exactly. The culinary experience is identical, but the psychological experience is ruined. We aren't emotionally attached to the bean. We are attached to the permission the bean gives us to just stop existing for 5 minutes.
The pause is the actual product being consumed.
The pause is the product. I love that.
The beverage is just the ticket that grants you entry into that pause.
So if the kitchen corner is how we build our emotional armor for the morning, what happens when that armor gets heavy by, 2 in the afternoon?
That is when we seek out the public sanctuary.
Right. Taking this private ritual out of the house and into the coffee shop,
Yeah.
it fundamentally changes the dynamic.
It really does. The source material describes a coffee shop as a tiny safe world inside a noisy day.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Think about the environmental elements that construct that world. You have low, predictable music, the ambient sound of cups clinking.
Maybe it's raining outside and you're warm inside.
Yes, it's deeply comforting.
And the diverse cast of characters. The English lesson actually lists them out, and it's such a universal phenomenon.
Oh, absolutely. You can walk into any cafe in the world and find the exact same people.
You find someone deeply engrossed in a novel, someone aggressively pretending to work on a laptop.
And someone having a quiet, existential life crisis right next to a blueberry muffin.
Right. You're surrounded by this microcosm of human experience, all happening within 10 feet of each other, but everyone is just respectfully ignoring one another.
And this brings up a fascinating psychological paradox. Why do we actively seek out a public, noisy, often crowded place when we really just want to find quiet and focus?
I have always wondered about that because a coffee shop is essentially a sensory white noise machine. The chaos is so constant that it kind of cancels out your internal anxiety.
Yeah.
But what is the actual mechanism there? Why does watching strangers make us feel calm? If you want to choose silence, we just stay home or go to a library, right?
Well, it actually comes down to our evolutionary craving for ambient human connection, but without the burden of social taxation.
Oh, interesting. Ambient connection.
Yeah, we evolved to feel safe in a bustling tribe.
Yeah.
Complete silence can actually trigger hypervigilance in the brain. Because, evolutionarily speaking, silence meant a predator was nearby.
That makes total sense. So the cafe provides a baseline of social activity.
Exactly. It proves the world is turning, people are living, society is functioning.
And it doesn't require your direct involvement.
Precisely. It's a trusted space that demands absolutely nothing of you. Nobody's asking you to wash the dishes or answer a work question or be on.
The English lesson transcript phrases it as feeling held by life. You're alone, but you're completely insulated from isolation.
It's beautiful.
It's an invisibility cloak woven out of roasted beans and lo-fi beats. But okay, I have to push back on our motivations here.
Okay.
Do we actually go to cafes for the coffee or to focus? Or are we literally just renting 20 minutes of immunity from our own responsibilities?
We are absolutely renting immunity, without a doubt, and usually under the guise of productivity.
Oh, 100%.
The source points out the incredibly ambitious dreams people bring into cafes. You walk through the door with your laptop, fully planning to, organize your entire life.
Achieve inbox zero. Outline a novel.
You sit down with immense purpose.
Oh, I know that feeling intimately. You arrange your pens and think, today is the day I get my entire life together.
And what actually happens? The transcript notes that you end up staring blankly out the window for 30 minutes,
You get half your latte.
watching traffic go by, and then you pack up and decide you've had a highly meaningful day.
And the wild part is, you did have a meaningful day. The productivity was just a lie we told ourselves to justify the trip. Staring out the window was the actual goal all along.
It was. Which leads us to the deepest layer uncovered in this material. The physical spaces, the brewing rituals. They all point toward how coffee intertwines with our memories.
Yes, our memories, our identity, and the very specific language we use to describe it.
This is where the psychological architecture of coffee really reveals itself, because it's not just a morning jumpstart.
Right, the source talks about that specific cup of coffee that arrives right in the middle of a hard, emotionally exhausting day.
When you have that heavy tiredness, not sleepy tired, but emotionally depleted tired.
The transcript describes it as having too much noise in the head.
And in that moment of intense cognitive overwhelm, the coffee acts as a soft pick-me-up. Now, obviously, it does not solve your external problems.
No, your deadlines haven't moved. The difficult emails are still waiting.
The stress is entirely intact. But the transcript uses an incredibly poetic phrase. It makes the day feel a little less sharp.
A little less sharp.
Yeah.
That phrasing is stunning. It acts as an emotional buffer, just softening the hard, jagged edges of reality.
Exactly. And the way it does that is deeply connected to memory.
Yeah, the lesson points out how just the smell of coffee can completely transport you.
Yeah.
You can be sitting in a stressful, fluorescent-lit office, but one inhale of a specific roast, and you are instantly back in your childhood.
Smelling the mornings in your parents' kitchen.
Or you're thrown back to late-night college studying with friends, or you're sitting across from someone you used to love. It's wild.
The mechanism behind that olfactory time travel is purely biological. The olfactory bulb, which processes smell, has direct connections to the amygdala and the hippocampus.
The emotion and memory centers.
Exactly. Smell bypasses the thalamus entirely, which is the brain's sensory relay station. This means a scent triggers an emotional memory before your conscious brain even has time to identify what the smell actually is.
Wow. Which explains the specific psychological vocabulary highlighted in the transcript. They teach words like comforting, sentimental, soothing, and nostalgic to describe the drink.
Right. Those are not culinary words.
No. They aren't talking about flavor profiles or acidity or roasting temperatures. We use the exact same words to describe a cup of hot bean water that we would use to describe a hug from a parent.
Or, looking at an old photograph, we are projecting immense emotional weight onto a mundane object. The source defines sentimental not just as a memory, but as a memory with the original emotion still tightly wrapped around it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It proves that people don't just love coffee. They love the feeling that coffee gives them. On the outside, it's just a small, ordinary thing.
But internally, it holds our routines, our desperate need for comfort, and our connection to our past selves. So if the smell alone bypasses our conscious brain and transports us back to a rainy afternoon from 10 years ago, is coffee essentially just a socially acceptable vehicle for time travel?
I would say yes. It is an olfactory and tactile time machine. And crucially, it's one we are allowed to operate in broad daylight in the middle of a corporate office without anyone questioning our sanity.
Or realizing we have completely mentally left the building.
Exactly.
That reframes the entire concept of a coffee break. The journey we've taken through this simple English lesson transcript is honestly staggering.
It really is. We started with the physical, biological survival, the buffering soul that uses a chemical stimulant to protect society from its own irritability.
Right. And then we moved from that morning survival into the kitchen corner, where we discovered that the ritual of brewing is actually a biological hack for nervous system care.
Signaling safety to the amygdala through those predictable sensory inputs.
And from the private kitchen, we stepped into the public sanctuary of the cafe, where we used the sensory white noise of strangers to rent immunity from the world's demands.
All while disguising our need to pause as a desire for productivity.
Yep. And finally, we unpacked the language of nostalgia, revealing how coffee acts as an emotional softener, making the harsh realities of the day just a little less sharp.
Through the biological magic of olfactory memory.
So coffee is never just about the drink. It's the manufactured pause, the emotional pick-me-up, the memory trigger, and the tactile comfort. So I want to turn this back to you, the listener. Think about your own routines this week. What is your excuse to sit quietly for a while? And when you find that moment, whether it's holding a chipped mug or staring out a cafe window, what does it actually mean to you? Are you just consuming a beverage, or are you desperately holding on to a piece of your own peace of mind?
And to build on that reflection, I want to leave you with the final theoretical question to ponder.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've established today that the true psychological magic of coffee lies in the ritual. Right. The warm, two-handed grip on the mug, the intentional pause, the sensory predictability, the safe environment. It's not just the chemical caffeine itself.
Right, the whole package.
So could we theoretically replace the coffee with a mug of plain hot water, go through the exact same motions, and eventually achieve the exact same neurological comfort? Or is there a stubborn, unique magic tied directly to that bitter little bean that human beings simply cannot replicate with anything else?
Wow, that is a thought that is going to haunt my next coffee break. I mean, I might actually try the hot water experiment, though I suspect my buffering soul will violently reject it.
I think mine would too.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Whatever your daily ritual happens to be, we hope you deeply enjoy your next comforting pause. And remember, the mechanical efficiency of the modern world can wait a few minutes while your soul finishes buffering.